All right, greetings once again, fellow traders. This is Michael Storm, also known as Robinhood, and today I'd like to talk to you about mixed signals. What do you do when you have mixed signals? And we'll start off with this pound Canada, and then if I have time, we'll take a look at a few more CAD crosses. So first off, notice that pound Canada currently, big downtrend, right? Long downtrend. It's been going on for quite a while. But remember in the last video, we talked about how monthly chart lives matter and weekly chart lives matter. So if we take a look at the weekly chart, you can see we've been here before. All right, this is approximately a year, a little bit more than a year. And every time that we were here, we had some pretty great moves. If you look at the weekly chart, this was well over 1,000 pips. This over here was almost 1,000 pips. This one only went 500, quickly retraced, and then did at least another 500. Here's a good area, and things fell to pieces. It went up pretty rapidly, about 2 weeks, 700 pips, had a really nice pullback, and then cleared almost another 700 pips. So looking at the chart and counting, there's been some really great moves, 500, 700, 1,000 pips and more. Over in this area, we had another very dramatic fall, and it took substantial time. This was months, actually, to get up about 750 pips. Here, we have a weekly chart being completely decimated, but we've been here. We've been here before. And you look at the stochastics, they're completely buried. So, in a sense, even though we have a beautiful downtrend on the daily, the weekly tells us we've been here before. And we've broken this little spot, which some people would look at and say, oh, that's very supportive. And now that it's broken this spot, that's terrible. We're breaking it. We should go lower. Well, maybe, and maybe not. If you look at the distance that we've traveled from here to here, that's almost 1,000 pips, and we're getting pretty tired on the weekly. Now, if we short it, what are we looking for? I mean, if we short it, are we going to short for the hope of maybe making it 140 or 170 pips lower? It just feels like a high risk to a low reward, in my personal opinion. So as I look at the daily, I realize, it's been a great downtrend, but I feel like the trend is closer to the end. And I look here and see the stochastics also buried. So a quick look, monthly, weekly, daily, all says kind of the same thing. Things are really tired. And even the 4-hour, we've got the stochastics, which is just one piece of the puzzle. Obviously it's not the only thing that anybody ever looks at. Of course not. There's so much more than that. But anyway, looking at the three waves, and we see the falls that we've had before. Nothing falls in a straight line, right? Every time you get down here like this, what happens? We have some pretty substantial up moves. This took a few days. It went 185 pips. This is long we actually took in our live trade room. This one went 161, and now we're buried again. So this I don't really consider that much of a like a mixed signal. All right, pound Canada looks like everything is pretty much in alignment, even hourly, completely buried, right? Ready to cross over, room to point north and room to travel north. Nothing falls in a straight line. So looking at this, I think this is a decent trade. For us, we would rather be longers of this than to try and short it. But there are other things that you could get mixed signals on. For instance, the pound Swiss franc. Now, again, weekly chart lives and monthly chart lives, in our opinion, they matter a lot. We look at this and we have a daily double bottom. We've got some daily buys going on. Stochastics are completely buried, and they're crossed and they're pointing up. Prices are starting to move up on the daily chart. Even on the 4-hour, you can see the whole wave action. When I say wave, I don't mean Elliott wave. I'm talking about this guppy wave that we use. And here, there was a lot of stall. This looks like a pretty decent build process. The trader trend crossing into the investor trend. But the stochastics are peaked and look like that will take time for this to get back down again to a decent level like here. This looked like a pretty good place to be long. Over here looked like a decent place to be long, expecting that retracement. So when we look at pound Swiss franc, the 4-hour gives us a little bit of a conflict, but monthly chart lives matter and weekly chart lives matter. So actually, I'm very bullish on pound Swissy myself. I think it's got a lot of room to go higher. And even though I'm a bull, I do confess to being short up here. And it was not just me, it was my entire trade room. We were all short on this for like 10 months, I believe, looking for this target to be hit. Now, I'm out of those shorts. I don't have them anymore. We have fallen substantially, and I don't feel like being short. And the reason is because of this over here. So if you look at it, you could draw it any way you want to. I mean, you could put a line in here and say this was a triangle, it was a wedge, or whatever you want to call it, a breakout, where we finally went above this resistance level. And we can see this area was resistance. This was, all of this was resistance, and we know it. We know it because prices went there and we fell like a stone. So traders have rejected this spot for a very long time, and down we went until over here, and things took off like mad. So it's taken 10 months to get back to this level. We've been watching it. We've been waiting for it. I don't know how you feel about it, but the monthly chart is looking very, very oversold to me, and the weekly as well. It's incredibly oversold. We have a weekly small pathetic buy signal. The stochastics are completely buried, and then we look daily and we see that double bottom action. This is crossing up, so it looks pretty good. Even the end of the guppy waves, where we now have this build process happening right here, where the trader's trend is starting to crunch through the investor trend and it's starting to tighten up. I still expect it to go down a little, not a ton. So when I'm looking at this, I don't feel like I want to short it. I feel like I'd rather wait, and I'd rather wait for this to come down. So the time required is somewhere between 12 hours or 24 hours, or who knows, maybe 36, maybe 48. I mean, it could take a little while. But eventually, the stochastics will roll and end up in this area. Where will price be? We don't have a clue. But a little pullback on the 4-hour and the 1-hour charts, this location right in here, I'd be willing to take my first long. I want to take a slice, a small slice. So if we could get this kind of a pullback here, let's say maybe, 40, 45 pips down into this area where the 1-hour river is located. And notice the 1-hour 200 and the 100 are all, we're above that. So in a sense, it's bullish on this time frame, because we're above the moving averages. So I would love to see a pullback. And if I could get that from where we are right now, down in here, let's say, 40 to maybe 45 pips, that's where I would take my first small long. And willing to add to that if I could get it to come in. If price will come in lower down in here, or trigger some stop losses somewhere, while other people are stopping out, pretty happy to add on to that temporarily losing position, with the basis that the weekly is going to rest here and that we won't travel much lower. So I don't know if this has been helpful or not, but if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like or a thumbs up or whatever. Share it with your friends. Let me see how much more time I have. 10 minutes. I don't want to abuse your time. I've been in for 10. So looking at, we'll go look at one more. Oops, if I can get this to work. There we go. Got time for one more. And what shall we pick? Since we're doing pound, why don't we do pound dollar? Here's another one. You currently have the 4-hour stochastics quite high, crossed over, pointed down, and room to run lower. But the 1 hour shows the stochastics are buried. The daily chart shows a small daily buy. And this is, well, today, the time of this video, this is a Monday, right here. This is a Tuesday now, actually. We just opened a new day. This was Monday. And Monday, nothing. I mean, you can see it went up a little bit, came right back down again. So going and looking at the pound on other time frames, say the monthly chart, we have a multi-bar pullback to reasonable monthly support. It's been in an uptrend for about 2 years. So pullback, of course, necessary to happen. You can see that this has taken about, 5 or 6 months to get back down here. And then when we look at the weekly, we see also this used to be resistive, but is now supportive. We've got other things that lend to it, like the 100 and the 200 below. And then a look at the daily shows what's happened in the past. Reasonable up moves. This one only lasted a few days, but it was a couple of hundred pips. This one lasted a few days, and it was almost 200 pips. This up move over here lasted a few weeks and was like 400. And this one, almost a month. Pretty close, not exactly, but almost 1 month and about 300 pips higher. This one, sadly, only lasted a day before it gave up the ghost and broke this level right here. We pummeled down for many days. I'm sure a lot of people wanted to sell it short in this location, but unfortunately, they were devastated, destroyed. We had 3 weeks straight up, 400 pips. So when I look at this, this looks like a beautiful push 1, beautiful push 2, a very beautiful push 3. Very powerful, very strong. But putting it all together, the weekly, let me do this so you can see it, the weekly support, knowing we have more support lower, the daily 3 pushes, where we've also hit the SHI channel, have doubled out, double bottom stochastics that are going to move north in time. It might take 12 or 15 days, but these stochastics will eventually get back up here. And so I look at this as a long. I'm not looking short. In fact, in our room, we bought it right around here, right there. And our first target was there, which we hit promptly. A couple of days, it went up like mad. We had about 185 pips of lift. We gave up on the trade, booked our trade, saw that it was going to crash. Sadly, did not short it, but that's okay. I've just been watching it and now thinking long again. So it's nice when you have everything in alignment and looking at about three different things here: pound dollar, pound Swiss, and pound Canada. It seems like we have some reasonable alignment. I'm having a little trouble shrinking my chart. I'm sorry. I've got a screen recording software going, and it's landing right where I'm trying to get my chart to drop down. Other charts are indicating similar actions as well, like for instance, pound Australia, especially if you look at the weekly, pound New Zealand. So we have a lot of stuff working together for good, I think. that will make the pound dollar move up and the other crosses move down in relation to it. So whenever you get a conflicting signal, say between your 4-hour and between your daily, personally, I would rather go with the daily because it's got more power to it. For instance, our original example where we were talking about the pound Swiss franc, even though this is peaked, and even though I think there will be a small pullback, I just don't feel like shorting it. I'd rather wait for the trade to come in, wait for it to drop, say down here, so that I can get long, rather than take the risk of shorting it when it's looking pretty bullish on the daily and the weekly. This looks so good on the weekly chart. I'm just afraid to get short. I don't want to have my head handed to me when I have been short up here. And all of these peaks, I've been short for 10 months, and I'm now out. So I don't feel like shorting when there isn't that much reward left. And what I'm trying to say is, if you get a conflicting signal, I think it's better and wiser to look at the weekly chart, look at the daily chart, and try and keep your head about you so that you don't lose your head. I'd rather keep it than lose it. So we are looking for pullbacks before we go long. So if the comments are open, I think they are, give us a comment. Let us know what you think about the pound Swiss, pound Canada, pound dollar. And, I'm past 16 minutes. Okay, my time's up. Everybody have a great week, good week trading. And if you like what you've heard here, give us a try in our live room. We have quite the community. And what we do is look over all of these charts, every chart, about 36 to maybe 40 charts, very thoroughly every single day, and find decent trades throughout the day. And sometimes it's slow, but a lot of times it can be pretty good, averaging somewhere around 3,000, maybe 3,500 pips in a whole week. And you might like it. You never know, unless you try. All right. Have a great week. God bless. Signing out.